Hi. So I have serious shirt envy now, just by the way. But I'm super glad I made the decision to put on my fancy pants. So so not regretting that now. So I'm also a lecturer in NUIG, and I am a plant ecologist and paleoecologist. And if the latter means nothing to you, I'm going to explain it in the way that my husband likes to do when he introduces me to people. And that is, did you see Jurassic Park? Yeah, so some of you have. So the cool woman in that, Ellie Sattler, was a paleobotanist. She's also the woman who at one point in the movie ends up to her shoulders in Triceratops poop. And it is my absolute lasting envy that has not been part of my job. So sadly, that has not actually happened. It's not normal, even for a paleobotanist. But one of the things about being a plant ecologist is that I have to warn you. I have to say, I'm not an ecologist. I'm not going to talk to you about animals, which you'd probably expect, because that's ecology, right? It's animals. No, it's not just animals, but I have to provide that warning, so you're braced. She's not going to tell us a cool story about animals. Instead, I'm going to tell you some cool stories about plants and why we need to think a little bit more about plants. So one of the issues that we have, plant scientists, is that we do this. We say we're plant scientists, we're plant ecologists, so everyone is prepped. You don't get that. You don't have to do that if you're a zoologist. You can just say, I'm an ecologist, or I'm a zoologist, and off you go. And you tell your story about your creatures with big eyes, or cute furry bums, or too many or too few legs, neither of which I am okay with. So plants have a lot going for them. They never have the wrong amount of legs, for a start. Very few of them bite you, although some can. It's true, some can. But generally, plants are fabulous, and we don't pay enough attention to plants. This is a statement that I have been shocked at how much hostility I can be met with when I say that. Say, how dare you, Karen? I know plenty about plants. I watch Gardener's World. And I have some plants in my house that I sometimes water. It's like, okay, look, having a bit of a thing for Monty Don does not make you being aware of plants or being a plant ecologist. If that joke means nothing to you, ask a woman over 45, okay? Ideally who has a garden. So one of it's staggering to me that people get upset about it, but it's basically the same as getting upset with a zoologist, because people don't get upset with zoologists, they get upset with botanists, and saying, we should do more to help protect, conserve, preserve, insert animal of choice here, and going, I'm doing plenty, thank you very much, I have a goldfish and I even feed it. It's exactly the same, but we don't get the same hostility towards plants. So after that initial, I watch Gardener's World, how dare you, the next thing that I'm challenged with is, you've forgotten. People like to garden. And it's met with intense eye contact. And it's like, you botanists, you don't understand. People like to garden. Ha! You're done. I have defeated your argument. I say, yeah, okay, yes, absolutely. People like to garden. It's a little bit different, liking to garden, and actually being a botanist. For example, if you ask me which rose you should plant where, I do not have a fucking clue. Okay? So please ask a gardener. They know much more about this kind of stuff than a lot of botanists. I can tell you how the plants function. I can tell you how they've changed their stomatal numbers, the amounts of breathing pores on the underside of their leaves in response to massive global change hundreds of millions of years ago. But I can't tell you whether you'd be better off with an iris or a tulip in that part of your garden. So when we say these things, we need to know more about plants. We need to think a little bit more about what's in our gardens, because actually I agree that gardeners have a huge role to play in helping us to preserve biodiversity and helping us to help the plants. But often what happens is you walk into a garden centre, maybe you just go into Tesco's and you see, oh, look, the daffodils are in, cool. And you might buy some daffodil bulbs or some cut flowers. You might buy a packet of wildflower seeds. You might go to the garden centre and again, look at all the beautiful plants that are there. One thing you might not know, might not even think about, is that actually quite a lot of them are not native plants. And what we're really concerned about and where the trouble is in the kingdom of plants is with the native plants and the plants that are kind of meant to be here and trying to give them somewhere to be and give them somewhere to exist. But that's not what we're able to do, not easily, because it's hard to get seeds or bulbs or whatever of our native plants. And it's even harder to get them from our native plants. So a lot of the seed stock isn't Irish, even though the species maybe might be Irish. And I think this is absolutely a shame because we have a beautiful, beautiful native flora. If I said to you, Devil's Bit scabious is a beautiful plant, is there anyone in the room, apart from my husband maybe, to whom that means anything? Oh, one person. That is way higher than I expected. Way higher. So it is a beautiful plant with a tiny little head of purple or pink coloured flower. It's absolutely gorgeous. It is one of the main food sources for one of our butterflies. It's hugely important. It's a beautiful species. None of you have a clue. Well, one of you. One of you has a clue about what I'm talking. And it's an interesting plant as well because the name itself is also part of our heritage. It's part of our culture. And it's said that the devil got very angry at this plant because of all of its medicinal properties, so he bit off the end of its roots, and it has these weirdly truncated roots. One that you may have a better idea in your head of what it looks like is bluebells. Do we know bluebells? Yeah? Phew. And bluebells also have a great interaction with our heritage. So they're said that when they ring, they will summon fairies. Now, again, remember these are Irish fairies, not Disney fairies, so that may not be ideal. It's bad luck to walk through a swath of bluebells, possibly because then you have a lot of fairies. And also they cure nightmares after whatever the fairies have done. So bluebells are awesome. Most bluebells, if you're not really paying attention and buying the right ones, you're going to end up with Spanish bluebells. Now, I have nothing against Spanish bluebells in Spain, but we have beautiful Irish bluebells, and they look slightly different. And again, we should be trying to get our own native plants and support our native plants to thrive. For all these reasons, for our history, our culture, but also for our pollinators. Now, this is how we protect plants by stealth. We talk about the pollinators because everyone says, we've got this. We know they're important. The pollinators are important and must be protected for the month of May. And we know this. And we say, okay, we're on board with protecting the pollinators. We should be. This is incredibly important. Plants that are pollinated are plants that we eat, okay? We need to have these plants protected. We need to have the pollinators protected. It's all a circle, and it's incredibly good. And we have a really successful program in Ireland of kind of engaging people with this and saying, let's protect the pollinators. Let's get some wildflowers down. Let's maybe not cut them all the time. And hence we have No Mow May, which is a fantastic initiative. But something that kind of baffles me slightly about No Mow May is June the 1st. Because I'm not a pollination scientist, I'm not a pollination expert, but I'm pretty sure that all the pollinators don't pack a suitcase and go on holidays on June 1st. I'm pretty sure they're still around. But more to the point, if we were thinking about this from a plant's perspective, the end of May, you have your most beautiful, delicate, reproductive organs out on display for the whole world to see. And then someone comes along, sides them off. They're gone. I mean, that's got to be upsetting, right? And you also don't let the plants fulfill their life cycle. So we're not letting the plants get to seed. We're not replenishing our own seed stock. We're just going, oh, May was beautiful. All those lovely flowers. Oh, good, the grass is back. And that's fine, except that it's really not. Because one of the things that we should be doing is protecting the plants as well to help protect the pollinators. So we don't take enough care of our own native plants. We don't know enough about them. And then we have this other weird relationship with other plants, invasive plants, bad plants. Okay, these are not good plants. And invasive plants, we have an almost a dichotomous, a one or the other kind of a relationship with them. And one is, oh, they're beautiful. And an example of that, and it infuriates me because I hate it, is rhododendron. It needs to die. It needs to be burnt with fire as quickly as possible. But no, I have friends and family who tell me every year, oh, the rhododendrons are out and they're beautiful. Kill them. They smother our native vegetation. They destroy our native forests. And they're not that pretty. Okay? They're just not. So we say we give rhododendron a bye because it's hot, apparently. And then we come to the Thanos of invasive species. Japanese knotweed. It will destroy your home. It will break every piece of concrete in sight, and it will kill your puppy. It won't. It won't do any of that. And this is this bizarre, pervasive myth that Japanese knotweed can grow through concrete. It's a plant. It can't do that. Okay, plants are not able to do that. Apart from the fact that if it could do that, someone would have monetized it and used it to demolish buildings. Or at the very least, as was the plot in a Jeffrey Arthur novel, I was told after I started working on Japanese knotweed, it would be used to entrap people. So it was we're going to plant Japanese knotweed in this person's house and then, it's going to cause all manner of chaos. It doesn't do that, okay? It's a plant. It's a bad invasive plant. Again, it disrupts our native ecosystems. We need to get rid of it, but it's just not able to do these kind of things, okay? It's not going to grow through concrete. It grows through cracks, but so does grass, okay? So, calm down about that bit. But we still need to get rid of it and to tackle it and all the rest of it. It's important to do these things. So we have this weird relationship where we don't know enough about any of these plants and we put labels on them. So they're either too pretty to deal with because, it doesn't matter, it's a pretty plant, or it's going to kill us all, or whatever. It's these extremes that are not helpful. And also make it very difficult then to get people to say, okay, we're going to go and we're going to deal with this, or we're going to take action to try and clear the land or whatever. All of these things require engagement from people. And it's hard to get people to care when they don't understand about things. So this is why it is incredibly important to care about plants, among many other reasons. So I want to very briefly touch on the other half of my kind of dichotomous existence, which is as a paleobotanist. And paleobotany allows us to look into the past. So it's like trying to travel in time. And you look at fossil plants, beautiful, beautiful fossil plants. And one of my memories from early on in my career was being sent to a beautiful museum to look at an amazing collection of 200 million year old fossil plants. And we were trying to figure out how this vegetation had done across a period of mass extinction. Incredibly interesting, incredibly beautiful. One thing you need to know about museums is they have this idea of dusty museums. And they're not, actually. They're very clean environments because they have to be to preserve the material. What is dusty is the rock and the fossil. So if you are a young, innocent researcher enthralled with these beautiful fossils and you're bending down really close to look at them and to take a tiny sample that is then going to go off and be chemically analysed and you sneeze, well, you see, you breathe in first, right? You go, oh shit, I've eaten the fossil. Thankfully, it only happened once. Thank you very much.
Give it up for Karen Bacon.